The ZYR assault began without warning, without provocation, and without hesitation. 300 shard metal warships tore through the quiet blue nebula surrounding Lyrithis Prime, their hulls glinting like serrated blades in the light of the system's twin suns. The ZYR did not send demands, did not send ultimatums. They simply opened fire. Inside the Lyrithi capital spire, alarms screamed in tones designed to be felt in the bones instead of heard. Organic walls flexed in pain as the first bombardment struck the planetary shield, bioplates rippling as if trying to heal. Dozens of Lyrithi collapsed from the psychic feedback. Their species wasn't built for war. Not anymore. High Elder Syrian, frail and translucent-skinned, leaned against the pulsing wall for support. We cannot repel this," he whispered, mandibles trembling. "Send a distress call to the Concordance." A junior attendant shook their head. "The Concordance will debate. They will stall. They will wait for consensus." Their voice cracked. "We do not have cycles for politics." Syrian closed his 4 eyes. "Then there is only one who might answer." He nodded. A trembling hand activated a crystal node. A message, short, desperate, launched into the void. "Humanity, we once saved you. We beg, save us now." It wasn't a command. It wasn't leverage. It was a plea spoken by a species that knew extinction was already closing in. And across the galaxy, in the Bastion line, humanity heard it. Commander Rhea Voss stood alone on the observation deck of the Horizon's Grave, Earth's most advanced strike carrier. The room was dark except for the golden lattice of tactical projections, each displaying distant conflict zones. Her posture was straight, hands behind her back, jaw set in calm determination. The moment the distress signal came through, every projection blinked red. Lieutenant Harrow sprinted in, breathless. "Commander! Lyrithi Prime is under attack. ZYR forces, full Dominion fleet group." Rhea didn't move. Her expression didn't change. She simply asked, "How many hours have they held?" 2 hours, 20 minutes. "How long can they hold?" Harrow swallowed. "Less than 1. Rhea finally turned, dark hair catching the soft blue illumination. "Summon the War Council." Minutes later, the tactical chamber filled with holograms of fleet captains and AI strategists, their faces illuminated by pulsing star map. The atmosphere shifted instantly, tight, electric, aware that whatever happened next would echo across centuries. Rhea spoke first. "The ZYR Dominion believes the Lyrithi will fall before anyone intervenes. They assume humanity will stay out of their internal correction. They are wrong." Captain Imani, eyes narrowed, folded her arms. "Commander, we all know the Lyrithi saved an early Terran expedition vessel 2 centuries ago. But the Concordance will call this an escalation. They'll claim humanity is overreacting." Rhea stepped forward, gaze intense. "The Lyrithi gave stranded humans food when they themselves had little. They risked war to shield us from a ZYR patrol. Humans remember that. We always have." She looked at each captain in turn. "And when humans repay a debt, the galaxy trembles." A low murmur rippled around the chamber. Not fear, anticipation. Admiral Kessen's hologram flickered. "Commander, initiating a full Vanguard fleet deployment requires Concordance approval." Rhea's reply was immediate. "We are not asking." Silence. Then Captain Imani exhaled sharply, a grin forming. "About time." Rhea turned toward the navigation console. "Prepare shock gravity lances. Sink all strike wings. Initiate war posture." "Destination?" Harrow asked. Rhea's expression hardened. "Lyrithis Prime." The Horizon's Grave shuddered as its engines awakened. The ship's neural sync core hummed, linking every pilot, soldier, and AI node into a collective heartbeat. Hundreds of human warships aligned behind it, the sharp, angular silhouettes of the Vanguard fleet forming a spear aimed across half a galaxy. "Jump engines charged," announced Harrow. "Gravity fold ready." "Execute," Rhea said. The stars around them stretched into blinding lines as the fleet tore a rift through spacetime. The galaxy flinched. On Lyrithus Prime, the shield collapsed. Columns of Zwara dropships knifed toward the capital, leaving contrails of burning ion ash. Lyrathi civilians fled through living corridors that sealed behind them, trying desperately to protect those inside. But the Zwara bombardment was merciless. Shard metal artillery pounded healing structures faster than they could regenerate. The Lyrathi were a species of thinkers, singers, healers, not warriors. In the central plaza, a mother shielded her child with her delicate wings as Zwara soldiers marched in formation, their armor jagged and cruel. High Marshal Korgoth Veln strode into the ruins, his heavy boots cracking biotiles beneath him. "We warned your people to stop impeding Dominion reclamation," he growled. "This is your own doing." Syrian, trembling but resolute, stepped forward. "We have never attacked you. Never threatened you. And that," Korgoth said, "is why you were weak." He raised his gauntlet to signal the final purge. And then, the air split open with a shriek of folding space. A tear of white-blue light ripped across the sky. Every Zwara soldier froze. High Marshal Korgotha's eyes widened. No, impossible. The first human warship burst from the tear like a blade thrown by a wrathful god. Then another. Then dozens more. The Vanguard fleet descended, blocking out the suns, their hulls aglow with gravity lance energy. A voice thundered across the battlefield, projected from orbit, amplified through every channel. "This is Commander Rhea Voss of Earth's Vanguard fleet." Her words rolled like the edge of a storm. "The Lyrathi once saved us. Today, humans repay that debt." Her voice sharpened. "Zwara Dominion, withdraw or be removed." Korgoth snarled, his mandibles clacking. "Humans dare stand against the Dominion? You are children playing at war." Rhea's voice answered, cold as dark space. "Then consider this your lesson." Shock gravity lances fired. A single beam cracked the Zwara flagship in orbit. Another shattered the dropship columns. Human strike wings dove like silver predators, ripping through Dominion formations with terrifying precision. The galaxy had forgotten what it meant for humans to commit. They would remember now. The Zwara Dominion hadn't just underestimated humans, they had ignored a principle older than most galactic empires. A debt once owed is a debt collected. And humanity, patient and relentless, was a collector that did not forgive delay. The battlefield above Lyrithus Prime burned like a star in revolt. The Vanguard fleet wove intricate patterns, each human ship a thread in a tapestry of destruction. Shock gravity lances carved tunnels through the vacuum, bending the very essence of space around the Zwara fleet. Entire squadrons disappeared in flashes of folded reality, leaving nothing but shrapnel and the echo of impossible physics. On the bridge of the horizon's grave, Rhea Voss monitored the unfolding chaos, her eyes steady, her mind sharper than any AI algorithm. Beside her, Lieutenant Harrow's hands danced across the control lattice, syncing carrier wings, energy pulses, and boarding drones with mechanical precision. "Commander," Harrow said, voice tight, "the Zwara flagship, Dread Maw, is initiating countergravity thrusters. They're trying to escape orbit." Rhea's dark eyes narrowed. "Let them run. Distance favors us." She tapped her comm panel. "Deploy neural-synced strike carriers. Focus on the tailing frigate. Leave their flagship to me." Far below, on Lyrithus Prime, the ground war was no less brutal. Zwara forces poured through the capital's shattered gates, their jagged armor glinting in the fractured light. Lyrathi soldiers, armed with their living tech, bioplated exoskeletons and organic energy weapons, struggled to resist, but exhaustion and fear left their defenses brittle. High Elder Syrian, trembling yet defiant, pressed his palms to the ground. "I cannot fight them, but perhaps I can guide them." His eyes glowed with faint iridescence as he channeled his species' psychic resonance. It swept over the surviving Lyrathi, enhancing their reflexes and linking their senses. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We will not die unnoticed." The first human boarding drones descended like silver rain. They bypassed ZYR armor with uncanny precision, neutralizing threats silently and efficiently. Lyrathai civilians stared, mouths agape, as humans, a species they remembered only from tales and gratitude, moved with terrifying calm. One of them, a boy no older than 10, whispered, They fight like the stories say. Like gods." In orbit, Korgoth Veln roared, slamming a clawed fist against his command console. "Do you see this? Humans, children of Earth, have no respect for the Dominion." His voice shook with fury, his mandibles clattering. "Initiate concentrated Nova Beam. Burn them all to ash." Ria's voice came through the comm channels, cold and cutting. "High Marshal, we warned you. Now you will learn the price of underestimating humanity." The dread maw lurched as coordinated human lances pierced its hull in several points simultaneously. Shields flickered, then collapsed. Plasma cores flared, throwing the flagship into a spinning death dance. "Commander," Harrow shouted, "they're ejecting their central command pod." Ria's smile was faint, almost imperceptible. "Let them flee. We will chase them, strategically." In the Capitol Plaza, Ria herself appeared, not physically but through human tactical projection drones. She addressed the ZYR soldiers, her voice amplified to every corner of the city, reverberating through walls and street. "Soldiers of the Dominion," she said. "The Lyrathai once saved our ancestors. Today we repay that debt. Stand down or face the consequences." For a moment, confusion rippled through the ZYR ranks. Their code-driven minds struggled to reconcile the image of humans, small, seemingly fragile creatures, commanding the battlefield with godlike precision. Korgotha's voice cut through, harsh and rasping. "They are fools. Send reinforcements. Crush them before they—" A massive tremor shattered the plaza. Ria's drones had deployed synchronized shock charges that bent gravity itself beneath the ZYR battalions. Soldiers were thrown like toys, armor cracking under the invisible pressure, their formations splintering instantly. Even as chaos erupted, Ria's projection remained calm, commanding, and terrifying in its precision. "Do you hear that sound, High Marshal? That is the sound of your empire learning humility." Back in orbit, the Vanguard fleet executed a maneuver that would be studied in galactic academies for centuries. Shock gravity lances synchronized in a lattice grid, creating an invisible cage around the fleeing dread maw. Korgoth barked orders, but every action was anticipated, countered, and neutralized before it could take effect. Ria stood silently on the bridge, hands behind her back, as the flagship finally slowed, trapped by the human-engineered gravity currents. She tapped a single command. The hull of the dread maw groaned, then ruptured. Internal explosions spread like wildfire. High Marshal Korgoth Veln's command pod ejected automatically, streaking toward a nearby nebula. His empire's symbol of authority was shattered, and yet he survived, barely. Ria's voice was steady, almost serene. "Consider this a lesson in debt collection." On Lyrathis Prime, survivors gathered in the square, staring at the carnage above and the strange, quiet human projection that hovered still. Sirian stepped forward, trembling. "Humans," he whispered, voice breaking. We cannot thank you enough." Ria's projection tilted its head, scanning the battered Lyrathai forces. "No thanks are necessary. Only remember this, we never forget a debt. And the galaxy will learn not to underestimate humanity again." The psychic resonance from Sirian's hands washed over the plaza, easing the survivors' pain, but leaving them in awe of the humans who had appeared from nowhere and rewritten the rules of war. Even the Concordance, watching from distant star systems, could not ignore the tidal shift. Reports would flood councils and debates for cycles to come. Earth's humans, tiny, unpredictable, and now deadly loyal, had reshaped a galactic battle in mere hours. and somewhere, High Marshal Korgoth Veln nursed his wounds in the shadow of a dying nebula, realizing that the galaxy had changed forever. Because humans, once committed, would never abandon a debt. And now every empire would tremble. The shock wave of humanity's intervention didn't stop at Lyrithus Prime. Across the galaxy, systems monitored the unfolding events in stunned silence. The Concordance, an assembly of ancient species accustomed to dictating the pace of war and diplomacy, had never witnessed anything like it. In the council chambers of the Eclipse Assembly, translucent delegates floated above glowing dais, their thoughts flickering as visual patterns in the air. The Arvathi, a species of cerebral translucence, murmured in disbelief. They annihilated 300 ZYRR ships in hours, whispered a young delegate. Without consultation. Without warning. A grizzled elder from the Tertiary grunted, claws tapping the crystalline floor. And yet the Lyrithi live. This is unprecedented. A sudden pulse of incoming data lit the chamber. Hollow streams showed human strike carriers weaving impossible patterns, synchronized like a single organism. Shock gravity lances bent space in ways that violated conventional physics. Every ZYRR ship in orbit was shattered, and the remaining battalions on the planet were in full retreat. The Concordance delegates exchanged glances that were centuries old. None of them had faced this species directly, and now they feared the consequences of ignoring them. Back in orbit around Lyrithus Prime, Commander Ria Voss stood on the bridge of the Horizon's grave, surveying the aftermath. The battlefield was quiet for the first time in hours, save for the soft hum of neural sync drives and distant debris collisions. Lieutenant Harrow broke the silence. "Commander, the ZYRR High Marshal survived the collapse. He's heading into the Charon Nebula. We could intercept." Ria's eyes narrowed. "Let him run. The galaxy needs to witness restraint. We fight to repay a debt, not to annihilate an entire species. The lesson is loyalty and consequence." Harrow nodded, but in the back of his mind, he knew humans could switch from restraint to overwhelming force in an instant. That unpredictability, precision combined with sheer ruthlessness, was the terror the galaxy had never anticipated. On Lyrithus Prime, survivors began to emerge from hiding. Their city was a ruin of bending spires and fractured living walls, but they were alive. Elder Syrian moved through the streets, guiding civilians, his psychic aura steadying the traumatized. "They came like the stories said," whispered a soldier, voice trembling. "Like gods of war." Syrian's 4 eyes glimmered with both awe and relief. "Humans do not forget. Once you help them, they repay in ways the galaxy cannot ignore." Children stared skyward, pointing at the silent, distant shapes of human ships holding orbit. Some whispered prayers, others swore vengeance against anyone who would threaten humanity's allies. Meanwhile, the fleeing High Marshal Korgoth Veln navigated the Charon Nebula, his pod's damaged systems sparking. The nebula's gravitational eddies, normally a sanctuary, felt like a trap. Every sensor ping returned false readings, twisted by the remnants of human shock lances still pulsing in the area. He cursed, mandibles snapping. "They are monsters. How can a species so young, so small, hold such power?" A voice crackled in his pod, a subordinate reporting telemetry. "Sir, the Vanguard fleet does not pursue yet." Korgoth growled, a vibration that rattled the pod. "No. They will wait. Watch. And then they will strike again." Humanity is terrifying. And in that statement lay the seed of fear that would spread across every ZYRR-occupied system. The Concordance had convened an emergency session. Every delegate, ancient, proud, unshakable, watched the data feeds from Lyrithus Prime and surrounding systems. "The humans," one Arvathi elder said slowly, "they do not act for conquest. They act for principle. For debt. Their loyalty is absolute." A tertiary general snapped, claws raised. "If they are willing to destroy the Dominion for a debt owed to a minor species, what will they do if we challenge them?" Discussion turned to speculation, then panic. A collective realization hit. Humanity was no longer just a rising power. Humanity was a variable that could destabilize the concordance itself, and they had only repaid a single debt. Back on the Horizon's grave, Rhea turned to her tactical officers. Prepare for the next wave. There are other debt holders in danger, and every species that helped humanity once must be protected. Harrow blinked. Commander, there are dozens. Systems under threat, some deep in ZYR space. Rhea's expression hardened. We make the impossible our duty. Begin plotting course. Time is measured in cycles, but humanity answers only when it must. Let every star system see what happens when humans honor a debt. The fleet hummed in response, neural sync systems linking pilot and ship in a single heartbeat. Even from orbit, the scale was terrifying. Shock gravity lances, precision strike wings, and neural carriers moved as one. A strategist from the fleet muttered, almost in awe, This is no longer war. This is inevitability. Rhea's voice carried over the calm, prepare for jump. Destination, ZYR core territories. Every action we take is a lesson, and the galaxy will remember. Elsewhere, across the void, rumors began to spread. Fleets, colonies, even mercenary guilds transmitted whispers of the humans' wrath, the speed of their response, and the terrifying precision of their warfare. Some scoffed. Some planned to flee. Others realized that alliances with humans, or at least neutrality, might be the only way to survive. In every system, one truth emerged. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive easily. And the galaxy, once arrogant and complacent, was only beginning to learn what that meant. The ZYR Dominion's core territories were not meant to be challenged. For millennia, their heavily fortified systems had repelled invaders, crushed rebellions, and absorbed natural disasters without faltering. Yet now, the Vanguard fleet moved like a blade across the galaxy, precise, unstoppable, and terrifyingly human. Rhea Voss stood on the observation deck of the Horizon's grave, eyes scanning the Neuralink star map. Every enemy fleet, every station, every planetary defense grid was catalogued in her mind in real time. She spoke softly, but each word carried the weight of inevitability. Prepare the Lyrathai escort. They are not soldiers, but today they fight. Every ally counts. Lieutenant Harrow's hands flew across the lattice, coordinating carriers, strike wings, and gravity lances. Commander, ZYR reinforcements are massing near the Epsilon Rift. Entire sector fleets converging. They know we are coming. Good, Rhea said. A faint smile touched her lips. Let them come. They will learn that humans do not flee. Humans do not hesitate. Humans repay debts, and collect consequences. Below, the Lyrathai forces prepared under Sirian's guidance. Their living weapons, the bioorganic armor and psychic amplifiers, had never been used on such a scale. Civilians were trained in defensive formations. Engineers patched shields and conduits while children carried vital data drives across the battered city. They fight with honor, whispered one Lyrathai recruit. Like humans taught them. Sirian's 4 eyes glimmered. Yes, and when humans are involved, that honor becomes something impossible to resist. Across the Epsilon Rift, ZYR fleets gathered. High Marshal Korgoth Veln's pod drifted behind the lines, battered and shaken. He had survived Lyrathis Prime by a hair, but now fear gnawed at him like a living predator. Marshal, one subordinate whispered, voice trembling, human fleets, they are approaching at light-fold velocity. Their formations, impossible geometry. Our calculations fail. Korgotha's claws clenched. Impossible or not, they are children. They will tire. They always do. The subordinate shook its head. Not these children, sir. Not Earth. Korgoth growled, a low vibration that carried through the pod. Then we die, and the galaxy will burn with our failure. The first engagement began in silence. Human strike wings leapt through the rift, folding and unfolding with uncanny synchronization. Gravity lances cut through ZYR formations, tearing ships apart while leaving the surrounding space almost untouched. Controlled destruction, surgical and terrifying. Rhea's voice carried through every comm channel. High Marshal Korgoth, you have a choice. Withdraw now, and the Lyrathai and your own people may survive. Stand, and humanity will repay the cost of your arrogance. The ZYR responded with desperation. Nova beams fired, plasma torpedoes streaked across the void, and fighter swarms surged. But the humans anticipated every move. Neural-synced carriers adjusted instantly. Gravity lances bent trajectories mid-flight. Every ZYR advance met a counterstrike before they even realized it. The galaxy watched. In every system, fleets paused to observe the impossible spectacle. On the ground in Lyrathis Prime, the Lyrathai saw the space battle reflected in the sky, glowing ribbons of light bending space like a living painting. Civilians cheered. Soldiers fought with renewed vigor, inspired not just by humans, but by the promise that help would not falter, even when the stakes were galactic. Syrian's psychic resonance amplified across the city, feeding courage into every soldier and civilian alike. Humans, they honor their debt. Stand with them, and you are stronger than the strongest empire. The Lyrathai fought back, using biotech in ways only humans could have inspired. Shard metal ZYR soldiers fell to their synchronized strikes, their formations collapsing under impossible coordination between species. Rhea directed the fleet with uncanny precision. Every engagement, every fold of space, every gravity lance strike was part of a larger pattern, a chessboard stretching across light years. Her goal was not simple destruction. It was a lesson in deterrence, in the terrifying clarity of human commitment. A human boarding party targeted a ZYR dread station. Explosions shivered through its hull, but human precision minimized collateral damage to nearby star systems. Every move screamed a message. Humanity was disciplined, ruthless, and bound by honor. High Marshal Korgoth Veln, watching from the Charon Nebula, realized too late that he could not escape the lesson. Humanity's reach was not just military, it was moral, relentless, and unstoppable. By the end of the cycle, the ZYR fleets were in full retreat. Systems once considered untouchable now lay exposed. Communications went silent. Everywhere, fear spread faster than humanship. Rhea stood on the bridge, observing the calm after the storm. Her voice was quiet, almost meditative, but every word was heard across the fleet. Today, the galaxy has learned a truth it will never forget. Humanity repays its debt. Humanity protects its allies. And when humans act, empires must tremble. Lieutenant Harrow exhaled, exhausted. Commander, they're calling for a ceasefire in the outer sectors. They're afraid of us. Rhea's eyes narrowed, dark and unwavering. Good. Let them be afraid. Let them remember. One debt repaid today echoes for centuries. We have set the standard. And tomorrow we collect again. In the distance, the scattered remnants of the ZYR fleets limped away, leaving behind shattered stations, broken ships, and the echo of a new era. The galaxy had witnessed something impossible. A species that, small and young as it was, could decide the fate of entire empires with honor, precision, and relentless loyalty. And humanity had only just begun. The galaxy held its breath. Every star system, every fleet, every council of the Concordance watched as humanity's vanguard fleet converged on the ZYR core cluster, the heart of the Dominion. It was a region said to be untouchable, a place where empires had built citadels of invulnerability. Yet the humans approached not with fear, not with hesitation, but with certainty, as if the galaxy itself had no choice but to yield. Commander Rhea Voss stood on the bridge of the Horizon's grave, her gaze fixed on the holographic star map. Every warp line, every defensive grid, every fleet was accounted for. Her neural sync link pulsed with the lives of thousands, pilots, soldiers, and AI nodes acting as a single entity. Prepare all weapons systems, she said, voice calm, commanding, final. Every ZYRR defensive installation must witness the consequences of underestimating humanity. Activate shock gravity lances. Launch strike carriers. Bring every ally online. Lieutenant Harrow, tense but precise, replied, Commander, the Repay bioarmor units are ready. They've never operated at this scale. Are you certain? Rhea interrupted, unwavering. We do not question loyalty. We act on it. Across the Corps, High Marshal Korgoth Veln had rallied what remained of his fleets. He was exhausted, battered, and terrified, but stubbornness had always defined the Dominion. Prepare every countermeasure, he rasped. Do not let them breach the inner sectors. Humanity cannot be allowed to dictate the galaxy. One of his lieutenants, a younger officer, trembled. Marshal, the Vanguard fleet has already neutralized 24 systems. Their tactics, impossible geometry. Gravity lances bending space. Neural synced boarding parties. Every defense fails before it can even engage. Korgoth growled, mandibles clicking. Then we shall fight until extinction. Even as he spoke, the first human strike wings emerged from folded space. They moved in perfect synchrony, weaving through ZYRR formations, leaving destruction in elegant arcs of light and kinetic precision. The galaxy watched in disbelief. On the ground in ZYRR-occupied worlds, the Repay forces coordinated human-assisted strikes, liberating colonies and outposts. Civilians, once enslaved or silenced, rose up alongside humans. Syrian's psychic resonance amplified courage, enhancing reflexes and granting strategy almost as lethal as the humans themselves. One young Repay pilot, watching a human carrier engage a dread frigate, whispered, They are terrifying. Not because of anger, but because they do not waver. And that was the heart of the terror. Humans did not act for conquest, not for power, not for revenge. They acted for honor, for debt. And when honor demanded it, no obstacle, no matter how ancient, could stand. In orbit above the core cluster, Rhea directed the Vanguard fleet like a master painter, shaping each strike as if it were a brushstroke on the canvas of war. Target all orbital weapon platforms, she said. Simultaneous strikes on all jump gates. Intercept any fleeing capital ship. Allow no survivors in the defensive perimeter to escape unscathed, but minimize civilian systems collateral. Harrow blinked. Commander, you are reshaping the core, the galaxy, in real time. Rhea's dark eyes narrowed. We repay debts. And when humans repay debts, the galaxy remembers. Gravity lances fired, carving invisible arcs across the void. Strike carriers dropped synchronized boarding pods, neutralizing entire stations without harming civilian zones. The dread Maw remnants, fleeing through hidden folds, were intercepted and disabled with methodical precision. High Marshal Korgoth Veln, watching helplessly, realized the inevitable. Humanity's wrath was disciplined, strategic, absolute. They are not just attacking, he muttered, voice raw. They are teaching. On a liberated world, Syrian looked up at the strange white and blue glimmer of human ships holding orbit. Survivors cheered, soldiers cried, children laughed. The Repay could scarcely comprehend it. The humans they had helped centuries ago had returned to repay a debt that spanned generations. Humans, Syrian whispered, awed. They are beyond any measure we can name. And indeed, the galaxy would name them. Across systems, from mercenary guilds to ancient concordance fleets, every record would bear the same warning. Humans repay debt. Every debt. And when they act, entire empires tremble. Back in the core cluster, Korgoth had no fleet, no stations, no escape. Only one thought remained in his mind. The humans had broken him. Rhea's voice, amplified across the void, resonated through the final stronghold. High Marshal Korgoth Veln, she intoned. Calm. Precise. Terrifying. You attacked our allies. You assumed humanity would stay idle. You are wrong. Stand down, or humanity will ensure your empire's end. The debt has been repaid. The consequence is now yours. There was silence. Then a faint hiss as Korgotha's command pod surrendered. The Dominion's core defenses deactivated. Systems went dark. The remaining fleets fled in confusion, the scale of human strategy too much even for seasoned admirals. Rhea stood on the bridge, hands behind her back, observing a galaxy fundamentally changed. Her voice carried through the neural link, for every pilot, soldier, and Lyrify ally to hear. Let this be remembered. Humanity honors its debt. Humanity protects its allies. And the galaxy will not forget. In the weeks that followed, the Concordance convened emergency sessions to assess the new balance of power. Empires once arrogant now approached humanity with caution, treaties formed at unprecedented speed. Fleets pledged neutrality or allegiance, fearful of incurring the wrath of a species whose honor spanned generations. Every species that had ever aided humanity received protection. Every ally was now a participant in a galaxy-wide safety net, an unspoken pact enforced by the humans themselves. And on Lyrithus Prime, Elder Syrian addressed his people, voice trembling with gratitude and awe. They came not for conquest, not for glory, but for debt. They remembered us, and in remembering they have reshaped the galaxy. Never forget what humans can do when they honor a debt. Commander Rhea Voss, returning to Earth orbit aboard the Horizon's Grave, finally allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Harrow, standing beside her, asked, "Commander, do you think the galaxy understands yet?" Rhea's gaze swept the stars, dark eyes sharp and unwavering. "They understand, Lieutenant. They will understand for centuries. Because humans repay debt. And when we act, the entire galaxy trembles." And somewhere, deep in the stillness of space, the echo of that truth traveled faster than light, carrying with it the terror, the respect, and the awe of a species that had finally shown the galaxy what it meant to honor a debt.